Look, I'm not a fan of prediction videos. I refuse to do them. So today, I just want to lay out my raw thoughts and everything I'm feeling inside as we build up to this massive Portugal versus Croatia clash. I'm not giving you a scoreline or a definitive prediction because when it comes to my own country, I hate doing it. I just can't do it, man. Obviously, deep down, my heart is screaming that Portugal takes this all day, every day. But logically, looking at it from a career perspective and just analyzing the game, my head is spinning with massive question marks and doubts. Can Roberto Martinez actually nail the tactical setup this time? Can Nuno Mendes survive a grueling 90 minutes? Can João Cancelo last the full 90? And should Cristiano Ronaldo even be playing the entire 90 minutes? Honestly, guys, I'm completely torn. I'm sitting here watching Achraf Hakimi push through a full 90 minutes for Morocco, but for some reason, Nuno Mendes and João Cancelo can't seem to last a full match for us. What is actually going on behind the scenes? Before we dive deep into the tactical side of Portugal versus Croatia, I've got a massive take I need to get off my chest. I genuinely believe this is simultaneously the absolute best matchup and the single hardest matchup for Portugal in this entire World Cup. When I say it's the best matchup, it's because throughout this tournament, the absolute best, most watchable games have consistently been European versus European sides. And I'll explain exactly why. The teams coming from outside of Europe, whether it's Africa, South America, or North America, have arrived at this World Cup with a completely different mindset compared to the European nations. The only European team that has broken that mold is France. And that's not even a conscious tactical choice from them. They just possess an absurd abundance of raw, unteachable talent to the point where the players have essentially taken the reins. What I mean by this is that European teams, European managers, and even the domestic European leagues, the Premier League, La Liga, the Portuguese League, have become completely suffocated by tactics. Everything is too robotic, too formulaic, and entirely dictated by data and analytics. In my opinion, heavy analytics are actively killing the joy of football in Europe right now. You can see it clear as day on the World Cup stage. The teams that are actually providing entertainment, passion, and the kind of pure football we all fell in love with growing up are teams like Mexico. Look at their game against Ecuador. It was pure, unadulterated football, balls over the top, beautiful long-range bangers flying into the back of the net. That game literally just wrapped up, so you guys are seeing this analysis fresh off that energy. Meanwhile, you look at European heavyweights like Portugal in the group stage, Germany, or the Netherlands, and their approach to matches feels cold and calculated. Look at how the Netherlands handled Morocco. It was too analytical. It makes no sense to me that Hakimi can effortlessly run his socks off for a full 90 minutes for Morocco, while Cancelo and Nuno Mendes are constantly being managed and hooked early for Portugal. Then you look back at our game against Colombia, where Martinez refuses to sub out Ronaldo because he claims the data and the computers indicated Ronaldo was in peak physical condition, meaning other players had to make way first. Seriously, take those laptop analytics and throw them completely out the window. I don't care what a computer screen tells me. I have eyes. I can look at a pitch and immediately tell if a human being is completely gassed from sprinting up and down the field. You can show me all the data you want, but Bruno Fernandes looked utterly exhausted in that Colombia match. Vitinha looked like a walking ghost past the halftime whistle against Colombia. João Felix put in an incredible shift, ran his absolute heart out, but by the 60th minute, he was completely running on empty. These computers telling managers who can run and who can't are overcomplicating a beautiful game. The non-European nations are approaching these massive tournament games with a completely different energy. They're playing to express themselves, to honor the shirt, and to just play the absolute best football they can to survive and win. And guess what? It's a million times more enjoyable to watch. Mexico versus Ecuador was a spectacle. The United States in the group stages was incredibly fun. The Ivory Coast brought immense energy, and Morocco against the Netherlands is the ultimate example. There was no overthinking or robotic data driving Morocco. They put that national team shirt on and said, "We are going out there to dominate and win this football match." They attacked relentlessly, wave after wave. Meanwhile, the Netherlands turned up with this rigid, overly defensive five-back system. Then you hear Frankie de Jong after the match talking about how they suffered from a mathematical disadvantage in the center of the park. Again with the mathematics, the analytics, and the rigid structures. Tactics have always been a fundamental part of football, but Europe has taken it to a ridiculous, toxic extreme. These modern managers are effectively stripping away the freedom and the joy from world-class players. When Vinicius Jr. puts on that iconic yellow Brazil kit, let Vinny dance. When Rafael Leão steps onto the pitch for Portugal, I want to see him smiling and laughing, man. Go out there, enjoy your football, smile while you're turning defenders inside out, and forget about the rigid structures. When Ronaldo tapes up his ankles and wraps his wrists like the vintage days, let the man go out there and do what he does best. Stop stressing about what the media will write, what the internet trolls will say, or whether people are screaming for mercy. Just go play. Reconnect with the raw talent that made you a global superstar in the first place. Rafael Leão was the undisputed star of AC Milan for a reason. Let that monster loose on the pitch. Stop shackling these guys with endless tactical metrics. I've watched the South American sides, the African nations, and the North American teams, and they just leave their absolute souls on the pitch because they understand it's win or go home. Then I watch a rerun of that Germany game, and it's just endless, soul-crushing sideways passing. Left to right to left, circling the ball infinitely. Just shoot the ball, man. Put your foot through it. Stop being terrified that the internet is going to clip it if you miss or make fun of a skewed shot. Let it fly. Nobody in the real world cares if an algorithm gives a player a 7.6 or a 5.4 performance rating. The fans just want to see their nation play with heart, win matches, and bring joy to the country. Go out there and empty the tank. When Portugal lined up against Congo, we tried all this elaborate wing-to-wing tactical shifting. Congo didn't care about complex tactical patterns. They just sat deep, defended their 18-yard box with their lives, and hit us on the counter. They won headers on corners because they jumped higher, and they beat us to loose balls because they ran faster. It was pure desire. When we faced Colombia, they simply outworked us from the first whistle to the last. They didn't care if Portugal possessed three of the most technically gifted midfielders on the planet. They outran us, outmuscled us, and left everything on the grass. That is exactly what this Portuguese squad is missing right now. Raw, unadulterated energy. We need to let Bruno be Bruno. Give him the freedom to orchestrate and create. If there was one message I could get across to Roberto Martinez, I would tell him, Roberto, just let the boys be themselves. If they play with freedom and still fail, at least they went down swinging on their own terms. But this incredibly rigid, heavily managed version of Portugal we saw in the group stages is simply not going to cut it in the knockout rounds. We all know the jaw-dropping football this group is capable of producing because we watched them dominate the Nations League and breeze through the qualifiers. We know what they can be when Vitinha is allowed to play with the same swagger he shows at PSG, or when João Neves is given the license to run his socks off just like he did to earn his massive move from Benfica. Let these players do what inherently makes them elite. Heading into this Croatia fixture, here is the reality for goal theory. Portugal absolutely have the tools to win this game, primarily because it's a Euro-on-Euro matchup. Both teams operate on a similar tactical wavelength, and they know each other inside out. We've clashed with Croatia across multiple major tournaments over the years. They are a deeply serious elite football nation, and if Portugal shows up with any complacency, we are packing our bags. The absolute key to survival in this match is total midfield dominance. You cannot allow Luka Modric to dictate the tempo of this game for even a 5-minute spell. João Neves needs to completely overrun their engine room, and Vitinha has to put in a defensive masterclass to lock everything down. Now, when it comes to the starting 11, my ideal lineup might sound a bit unconventional, but hear me out before you write it off. The reality is that absolutely no one has successfully claimed that left-wing spot for Portugal in this tournament. Not Leão, not João Felix, and not Pedro Neto when he was deployed over there. So, here is my tactical blueprint. We know Martinez isn't going to field a back three. Therefore, I see two viable paths forward. Option 1 is replicating the exact blueprint used against Spain in the Nations League final, where João Neves was brilliantly utilized at right back, and we lifted the trophy. Option 2 is a bold tactical shift, starting Cristiano Ronaldo and Gonzalo Ramos as a strike partnership. Visualize how this works when we are out of possession. Bruno Fernandes can naturally drift slightly to the left, while Vitinha and João Neves secure the central spine. Gonzalo Ramos would physically drop deeper into that central attacking midfield pocket where Bruno typically operates, using his incredible work rate to press the opposition, cut off passing lanes, and block the long-range shooting space through the middle that Colombia exploited so heavily. This leaves Ronaldo as the focal point up top, free to drift into the left channel or stay central without being burdened by immense defensive tracking. Then, when we transition into attack, Ronaldo can intentionally drift out wide left, creating a massive vacuum for Nuno Mendes to overlap into. Ramos can burst into the central striker role. Pedro Neto can use his electric pace to tear up the right flank, and Bruno Fernandes can pull the strings directly behind them. This setup gives you a lethal dynamic presence in the box with both Ronaldo and Ramos, while instantly fixing our pressing issues. Ramos possesses a defensive work rate and pressing intensity that far exceeds what Felix or Leão offer out wide. If they can find a tactical balance that allows Ramos and Ronaldo to coexist defensively, I would infinitely prefer that over watching our left winger fail to track back. If Martinez opts for the Nations League blueprint instead, you feature Neto or whoever is in form on the left, Ronaldo through the middle, and likely Francisco Conceição bringing chaos down the right. In the midfield trio, you run Bernardo Silva, Vitinha, and Bruno Fernandes. Since João Cancelo cannot reliably give you a full 90 minutes right now and is somewhat neutralized on the right, you start João Neves at right back or rely on Nelson Semedo alongside Ruben Dias, Gonçalo Inácio, and Nuno Mendes. Ultimately, we desperately need to apply intense pressure on Croatia's center-backs and field players who will relentlessly chase down Modric. Ramos provides that exact injection of tireless energy through the middle. With Ronaldo naturally drifting left, Nuno Mendes has the quality to lock down that entire flank virtually by himself, meaning we won't look completely exposed through the center. Colombia devastated us because our front line offered zero pressing resistance, allowing their midfielders to comfortably line up long-range shots. Ramos completely disrupts that. I'm not demanding he single-handedly win every tackle. I just need him actively suffocating their build-up, hunting down the goalkeeper, and injecting urgency into our play. That is exactly how I want to see Portugal approach this monumental game. Can we beat them? Without a doubt. Could we easily crash out against them? Absolutely. If Portugal rolls out with the same sluggish, uninspired attitude displayed during the group stage, our tournament ends right here. If Martinez rolls out a stagnant game plan and fails to adapt early, we are in massive trouble. Because we are getting virtually zero production from the left wing right now, why not let Ronaldo occupy those spaces to cross or cut inside, and let a hungry Gonçalo Ramos do the heavy lifting and dirty work through the center? I love João Felix, but his absolute best position is centrally right behind the striker, a spot currently locked down by Bruno Fernandes. Forcing Felix out wide is a waste of his attributes. We need to prioritize maximum energy on the pitch, because a lack of intensity is exactly what is holding this golden generation back. I know pairing Ramos and Ronaldo sounds wild to some of you, but our traditional wingers simply aren't creating enough chances anyway. Let's let our fullbacks provide the width and get players in the center who will fight for the badge. I am incredibly anxious about this matchup, and anything can happen. I just want to see beautiful, passionate, high-intensity football from our boys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It's been Goal Theory, take care of yourselves, and let's hope the boys get the job done. Peace.